Greetings and welcome back to the channel. This is a man called Gavar. Today is January the 18th of the year 2026 on the pagan calendar, and continuing to progress through the material. I understand, I have a comprehension of the process, of what we're doing here with this process, and if you're unaware of what I refer to, I will refer you to this YouTube channel here, Reclaim Your Securities. And if you go to their YouTube channel, there's a link for their blog, which I'll show you as well. Restore the Kingdom of God. I've been following this gentleman since 2009, and in all honesty, I have to admit, I wish I had never lost touch with him. I wish I had not wasted the time I wasted on a lot of other diversionary rabbit holes that didn't really give me a remedy that I have been on the trail of for a very, very long time. But I want to talk today about this little passage here I've extracted from the material. I'm not supposed to share the details, but I consider this to be just kind of a conceptual thing. So I'm not breaching any agreement with the individuals that put this information together. This brief extract came from a 500-page copy of a Yahoo post that contains the meat of the understanding. A lot of this you're probably not going to understand because you don't understand the words, but I'm going to try to help you understand the concept of what the remedy is for us. A lot of people exist thinking that it's moral and it's admirable to work hard, buy things, own things, have possessions, whether it be a vehicle or a home or a business, all these different things that we are tempted to have ownership of. But I'm reminded as a Hebrew, as an Essene, if you read the Didache, we're commanded as brethren to share all things in common with our brothers and sisters, to not claim anything as our own. So this kind of falls in line with that thinking, but it applies it on a military basis. One of the documents I studied early on in my journey was the Lieber Code, and I still recommend people understand that. We'll talk a little bit about that in this post. But the American Republic ended in 1861, at least on paper. I'm sorry, at least in reality. It still exists on paper to some extent. However, it is largely, over the years, kind of covered over, and it's really not available anymore unless you know who you are and you know how to operate within their system that they've set up, which is very convoluted, very complicated, hard to understand. And again, the challenge I have today is to help you, not make, I can't make you do anything. I want to help you understand as a follower of my channel, I apologize. I've told you who many times, like Moshe said to him when he called him, and I'm not comparing myself to Moses by any means, but Moses said, call my brother, he's a better speaker than I am. There are many people who are better speakers than I am, and I'm not a teacher. I'm just trying to share with my brethren the information that Abba has shared with me and bestowed upon me so I can help you understand the confusion under which we operate. So this is an extract from the Yahoo posts, and I want to read it and break it down. It enters into this terminology called Usufruct, which is also spoken of in the Lieber Code, which we'll get to. Usufruct, you break that down. I like to tell myself, Usufruct, use of the fruit, use of the fruit, use and fruit, something like that. Usufruct means you don't own something, but you are entitled to the use of it and the benefit derived from the use of it. Basically, it's a trust, which is what we're operating under. The system is a big trust. You can operate in it as a trust, as a beneficiary, or you can usurp a role that was not lawfully designed for you, and you can try to be the trustee, which we'll talk about in this post. So, it says here that usufruct is a duality trust. I've never heard that phrase before, and when it hit me like a ton of bricks. It totally makes sense, because a trust is simply a contractual arrangement, and there's a grantor who grants the trust, there's a trustee who manages it, and there's a beneficiary or beneficiaries who benefit from the manner in which the trustees are managing the trust assets, which are granted to the trust by the grantor. Think of it this way. The government, after the Civil War, confiscated all the property of all the people of America. And then they pledged it in the 30s at their bankruptcy as collateral. You are what they call in this post, we'll get to it, a spoliated owner. You've been plundered, robbed. Someone else has your property. However, if you get in line with the way the system operates, you can operate usufruct. You get to use that property. You don't own it. You can't claim it is yours, but you are entitled to use it. And this operation of usufruct has an accounts receivable side and an account payable side, balancing the books. Terminology used in the UCC is beneficial interest holder. That means the person who doesn't own the asset, but they have a beneficial interest in that asset, which is exactly what we're talking about. You have a usufructuary interest. You're entitled to the use and the fruit of the asset. Any asset, whether it be land, vehicles, tools, properties, homes, businesses, all this stuff. If you know how to use your pen, the pen is indeed mightier than the sword, and you now have use and entitled to the fruit of the same property which was taken from you when you were plundered, robbed, and despoiled, which means plundered, ruined. Okay? The BIH, beneficial interest holder of the receivable side, is the public trust. That's the public charitable trust. And in that public charitable trust is your legal name, Sesta KV Trust. The all uppercase version of your name, that is a trust within the greater trust, the public charitable trust. Okay? You have an interest in your trust. And by virtue of that, you have an interest in the public charitable trust. Therefore, you have usufructuary rights to the assets within the trust. Okay? We focus on this passage here. The beneficial interest holder on the account payable side is the one to whom usufructuary duties is owed. There's something owed here. They created a trust by taking your property and putting it in trust and pledging it. Now they are obliged to provide you with some kind of benefit. That's the beneficiary. It is owed to you. What is owed to you? Usufruct. The right of use. Now skip on down to my paragraph here. It says, I have found through personal experience. This is the author making his opinion known, and I agree with this. Ownership, classic ownership, where you say something is yours. Like, for example, go to a car dealership and you buy a car and they give you a title and it's in your legal name. Well, you've been conditioned to believe that legal name is you, but it's not. It's actually a trust. It's the beneficial interest holder on the account payable side. It is the entity to whom usufructuary duties is owed, and you, as having an interest in that trust, exercise that right and utilize the property. Okay? So it says here, ownership, therefore, is adverse possession. It is slavery. Adverse possession is illegal use of someone's property that you don't have the right to utilize. So when you claim ownership, you're stepping over the boundary and you're saying, not only I have the right to utilize this property, but this property is mine. And that makes you a slave. Because a claim of ownership is a claim to be owned. Because there's an maxim in law, that any principal attaches itself to, any accessory that attaches itself to a principal is therefore equal to the principal. So you're a slave, just like your legal name is a slave. It's property. It's an intangible chattel property owned by the government. You don't own it, but you have a beneficial interest in it. And if you understand your role in the process, you can exercise that and acquire what's called equity interest recovery. Remedy is equity interest recovery by the beneficial interest holder, meaning they've taken your property. You can't get it back. It's not possible. It's been ruined. Yeah, it's been ruined. It's no longer able. You can't take it back. It's been thrown into a pot with everybody else's property, and it cannot be returned to you. However, you can flip the script on the system and on the progenitors of the system, and you can claim your remedy, which is equity interest recovery, Usufruct. I hope that makes sense. I'm trying to make this simple. I don't want to make this confusing. I'm trying to make this as simple as possible for you to grasp the simplicity of it. The government has seized all property. The way they facilitate giving you use of that property is by giving you a cestui trust within that trust, which you have an interest in. And this goes on to explain that. When you go to court, right, the presumption in any court hearing is that you are the one using the name and that you are in adverse possession, or what they call trustee de suntort, or executor de suntort, which is the actual legal Latin maxim, executor de suntort, meaning you are managing it and administrating it in a way that causes harm to yourself, because you're not in alignment with the way it was set up to be used. You are using the name and claiming it to be yours, and you are therefore acting as a trustee of the public trust. You are not an authorized officer with permission to do that. In the Lieber Code, it was vested in the government, the management of this, okay? Lieber Code Article 2, in conjunction with Hague Article 43, restoration of public order and safety, 3 essential tasks carried out. 1, the peaceful inhabitants live their lives day to day. 2, they establish an agreement which is mutually beneficial to both occupant and peaceful inhabitant with regard to the property. 3, the government exists to administrate that agreement, and since the occupying army must exist as a condition of the peace agreement, therefore, the occupying army becomes the government administrating the agreement or servicing the agent or United States, and since the U.S. or its army also appropriates from the titles held in position of Article 38, it is also usufructuary of public buildings and agricultural estates via Hague Article 55 and natural operation of law, which apparently all those live birth certificates represent an agricultural estate or land, which is the people's or the inhabitants. So this is in place because we're living under martial law. Lieber Code is still in effect. Article 1, I believe, states that martial law is the presence of a hostile army. The presence of that hostile army indicates you are living under martial law. Now, you may not see troops in the streets, but there are federal military bases on the sovereign states. Therefore, the sovereign states are occupied by a foreign entity. Will you be at peace with them, or will you make war with them? That's the question, brother. Peace. Shalom.